Hey everyone, we are here with Ashley Wainscott. She is the CEO of Simply Sold. And Ashley, I'm so excited to have you here to just kind of talk to everybody about what your business is and how you guys do like make ready for homes for people that want to sell, or just great construction projects that they can do for their home. So let's start off and just give me a little bit about your business and what you guys do.
Yes, so I know this really well. I can go on and on about us. We started about 7 years ago, and we will be celebrating that anniversary in the next month.
Oh, that's
And
exciting.
it's so exciting. Can you believe 7 years? It's like having a 7-year-old but different.
Yeah.
But
It's
just
all
very
that hard, it's all
different.
that same hard work, right? Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, all the tears, lots of broken fingernails, all the things, construction sites bring to my physical look. This is why I don't paint my fingernails ever. But yeah, so I started Simply Sold 7 years ago, and the vision was to just be an asset to realtors. And I'm like, how can I like attach myself to them and just be their like, I don't know, little minion that follows them. And I'm like, what do you need? Do you need this here? What do your clients need? And it just started off with make readies because that was the thing that was so evident to me that needed a ton of help. And what seemed like was on the market was people that, one-stop shop, Joe Schmo, that would come in and be like, yeah, I can do this for you. I can do that for you, but it'll be in 3 weeks. And he might show up. He might charge you this amount. There's probably going to be extras. And it's just, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be any sort of concrete way to do business. I personally wouldn't feel comfortable signing up for that and having like a guaranteed process. So that was the long-winded answer, but the short-winded answer is we started off just doing make readies, and now we're a full-scale remodeling firm. So we do anything around the house that has to be upgraded or renovated, and we're very informed because we started off with make readies where the return on investment lies in your home. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be speaking with someone who knows about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is a huge concern and something that's difficult for people, right? When they're looking at doing major construction projects, like, are the contractors going to be on time, and how much is it going to cost? And just scheduling all of that is such a huge task. So can you just go a little bit into, well, one, like what a make ready is for those that aren't used to that terminology? And then when you're seeing those projects, not only for make readies, but when people are looking at remodeling their home, like what are some of the bigger projects that can really bring like a good return on investment?
So a few things. So make ready stands for any project that you're doing before listing your home. And that actually falls under a list of things that are more along the lines of beautifying home. How can we make it look and feel like a model home, like a brand new home? We all acknowledge that it's not a brand new home, but how can we give somebody that feel where they walk into the home and they're like, I can see myself here. And
Like a
there's
fresh
a
new look, kind of.
kitty. Look at your kitty.
Oh, is he? Oh God, sorry. He's the
We have an
worst.
appearance, guest appearance.
Yes, always on everything. He was laying on top of my computer the other day. So this is how we work now in this new normal.
I love that he showed up. We were talking way before this, and this is how he shows up.
I know.
He's like, here I am. I'm ready.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so great. I forgot what we were talking about.
So like return on investments, like what,
Yes.
like, so the make readies are just kind of like freshening up your home to sell it. So like it looks its best, all those little projects that you want to get to one day, like it's getting to them, right? So it's ready to go
Now's
on
the
the market.
moment. All that deferred maintenance that you wanted to do, or you're like, ooh, I'm going to get around to that. I'll do that someday. Today's the day.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that's the one thing about selling a home is like it forces you to do those projects.
Yes.
But even if they're not make ready, if they are doing a make ready, or if they just want to remodel their home, either to sell now or maybe later, or just for their own projects, where can people see the most return on investment?
So I've done quite a bit of research on this, and it still holds true from the moment I started researching this to now. And it's always your kitchen and master bathroom. Always. Those are just the two things that a buyer or anyone down the line is going to appreciate you doing. So working in a guest bathroom, sure, that's always nice. Having an updated guest bathroom, I love it. But do people appreciate it the same? No, they don't. All of the sites and things that I've gone to where I'm researching, dollar for dollar, when you put this into this room, how much you get out, it's those two rooms that are consistent. So you can see other areas that have a good return. You can see a fantastic back patio, a deck that offers a ton of return on investment. And I think it shifts over time with what else is continued or considered, return on investment. But I always say those two rooms are a given, and then the rest kind of follows. So like consistent, good flooring throughout a home, the value on that is just, as a human, even a homeowner, as a renter, whatever place that you're in, having good, solid flooring that looks amazing and it's good quality, the return on investment's always there for that. And same thing with additions. So adding square footage to your home, you can never go wrong there.
Yeah.
But I will say some people get a little carried away with how much they're investing. So like, don't price yourself out of the neighborhood, or don't price yourself out of your remodel. If you live in a particular neighborhood that calls for a $30,000, $50,000, or $60,000 remodel, then I totally get that. But it's just being aware of how much money you're putting into the remodel itself, like with materials, and materials can jack that price up quickly.
Well, and on that, I think that that's exactly right? So many times sellers will oftentimes like over remodel, or, put too fancy of items in there that they might really love, but maybe are more specific. So when you're looking for like materials, what do you kind of suggest? Like what level, like mid-range would you go to, so that it looks really nice, but you're not overspending?
That's a great question. Holly, you got me there. I'm just kidding. You didn't. I know the answer. So subway tile is still around, right? It's still a thing, and it will always be the stamp of this decade or this era. You will always walk into a house and be like, I know when that was built, or I know when this was redone.
That's true. There's a lot of subway tile out there nowadays.
Can you imagine how many homes have subway tile right now? Like what percentage?
Mine does for sure.
Yours does?
Yes, because it's like, it was newly built, right? So like that's in this like more standard like second bath, like there's subway tile.
See, the second baths, they're great for subway tile, because it's like, how do you get it to look good but be affordable at the same time? Those two, you just can't beat subway tile pricing. And that's what I always recommend for people that have like their properties with guest bathroom or second bathroom for renters, and just depending on like the actual price of your home, mid-range and lower, it's totally fine having subway tile. And you can mix it up by getting the longer subway tile. You can mix it up by doing a different pattern. You can also mix it up by getting a different color. And there's still $2 to $3 to $4 a square foot, which is like, it's a really good price for tile.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love the different like colors and designs too. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Cause I think right now, at least like blues and greens are still like perfectly neutral hues of subway tile. know that I've seen a purple subway tile, but I'd hold off on installing it if you found any anywhere. Like, I don't know if maybe Barney has any, or he keeps his stock supply, but I would venture away from those types of colors, but blue hues and green hues, we've seen a lot of those with sellers and people getting their houses ready. Say they just update the surround rather than tearing it out and like redoing it completely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody walks in and sees new tile rather than like the old squares, or even if you have like an older one of those plasticky surrounds, why can't I think of the name? Like a fiberglass surround.
Okay.
That sounds more professional. But then that's the way to go. Yeah.
And what about, I know like you mentioned flooring. Flooring is a huge one. So what do you suggest, like reasonable that looks really good?
Reasonable right now. So I just had a debate with several realtors and designers about this topic, and it was about vinyl plank. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't sure where we stood on like what level of homes it's okay to put vinyl plank in. And I get that question somewhat frequently now because it's actually the amount of supplies that our wholesalers have right now, vinyl plank, is insane. The stock supply, people are producing it left and right. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is the new trend. And that's what it seems to be because it's just so durable that water, dogs, humans dropping things, accidents, all of those things can happen on vinyl plank, and you don't have to do any sort of remediation other than pulling it up and putting a new piece in. So it's what I found. So the consensus was from this whole thing was that basically it's okay to use vinyl plank in homes even from like $700,000 down. Okay. I think once you get more towards like the $1 million homes, you know, keeping the traditional hardwood. Yeah. Or I think the porcelain planks are still going strong. And those porcelain planks are great for like 5, 6, 700,000 and maybe a little bit below that. It kind of just depends on if you're going to live in it or how long you're going to keep the home too, you know, because that's an investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, I think that that's amazing information. And then we also know that a ton of people are kind of stuck at home right now and maybe looking for projects to do, or even those that are more like DIY spirited. What can they do themselves that's pretty easy, pretty reasonable, but can make like an impact on their home?
Yeah, you know, there's so many things that we could all be doing if, you know, say we reshifted our focus this time to our house and we actually got the things done that need to be done. And a lot of these things are simple, but it depends on level of expertise, right? Like how handy are you in your home? And this is the perfect time to, I would use a different word, but to mess it up. Like if you're going to try something out and mess it up, that's okay. It's your house. You can do that. And then call the professionals later. That's totally okay. But to avoid doing things like that, like cleaning gutters, so easy, so easy, but it's necessary. Trimming back your trees away from your roof line. Don't let those guys rub on your shingles. Don't let them do that because that always comes up on those inspection reports.
We always see it on inspection reports. And that is one of the biggest things, like trim your trees away from your roof line.
Yes. And sometimes you forget, like, you know, look up when you go outside of your house, like just look up at the perimeter. But you're just gonna have to pay money later if you don't keep them trimmed back. So I'd say that's really important. I also thought a lot about like caulking, for instance, keeping things around your tub sealed. And even if you don't want to get the white caulking, get the silicone, and that can help so you don't have to have like a perfectly white line. Doing like some sort of silicone will help you with that. But the goal is to avoid water getting into the walls. So if you don't have any, if you have caulking that has worn off, like that should be a code red for you, because you do not want water getting in those walls. And that's an easy thing. I think right now, too, a lot of people can just be changing out air filters, help your HVAC system, emptying your water heaters. I know people do not do this annually, but you're
No.
supposed to empty them out for all the calcium buildup and things that come through your water heater.
Mm-hmm.
Dump that guy out, and this is the perfect time to do that. There are also little things like cosmetic things, like changing out your door hardware that
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
is really old.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
Things like that have a lot of value when it, say you do decide to sell your home, or say, I don't know, just me aesthetically, I'm such an aesthetics person, which I'm sure you never would have guessed, but just
Never.
looking around and seeing like updated hardware on your cabinets or updated actual doorknobs, that makes a really big difference just for your peace of mind in your environment. It does something to your mental headspace. I don't know.
Yeah. It really does. Like, I think it's like the little extra, like, I mean, it's amazing how like painting cabinets or changing the hardware can make them look completely new.
So different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so different. I'm trying to think. I had made a list too, but I wasn't going to like whip it out and read verbatim. I, Ashley Wainscott, would like to say.
Well, what do you think about, I know this is a big one, is painting, like painting rooms. I personally, I hate to paint. I'm not good at it. And so I like to leave that to the professionals, but a lot of people like to paint. So what do you think about like painting rooms?
I'm all for it. Just use that blue tape, please, for the love of God. Because, well, you're going to call me and have me come fix your lines one day, and that's totally fine. But if anybody is a little bit anal like I am, where you're going to look up and you're going to just stare at it, you
Yeah,
know?
like the little dot when your brush accidentally like hits the ceiling. Yeah, that's me. That's why I stopped painting my own stuff.
And then there's this one little, squiggly line on the ceiling, and you're like, oh man,
Exactly.
oh, I did that. That was me. I'm
Oh
all
my God.
for DIY painting though, because I mean, what better way to pass the time? You might as well help the
Yeah.
space that you're confined in.
Yeah, and even if you do get a couple of squiggly lines, like you can always fix that, right? Like
Yes, you
paint
can do a
over it with
little
the other color or, touch it up later too.
repaint the whole
So,
ceiling. I'm just
okay,
kidding.
well, those are awesome. I think the last thing that might be really helpful is just, so let's say people, they've done their DIY projects or they're not into it. They really want to do bigger remodels or hire a contractor. Like, how do they find contractors, and what are tips for them to like find a really good contractor?
Yeah, there's a few routes to go. I would say one of them, the start is asking your realtor. That's
Mhm.
always the best place, because realtors have such good contacts and it's their industry. They hear through word of mouth how other contractors are working with their clients or with colleagues in their field. Ask your realtor. That's always one. Two, if you know a designer, ask a designer. And three, simple Google searches to find local contractors in your area is a great place to start. And then from there, I think you just have to figure out who aligns with you. What are you looking to accomplish, and what are the values for that project? Because say you're just looking to flip a property, you're going to be looking for a very different person than if you're looking to actually do a quality remodel for your home or do a quality update before selling. I think there are always specific individuals that fit into different boxes. There are people that are just the one-stop shop kind of guy who can do it all, and he can range from really good to really bad at certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the biggest thing is asking them questions like, what if complimented, or what have people complimented you on in the past? You know, what would you say are you really good at? And let it snowball into just natural more questions. So, you know, from there being like, okay, and what else? And anything else? And what else? And let people either dig themselves into a hole naturally or let them dig themselves out of the hole, and they'll either come shining through where you're like, wow, actually that's really good to know. I think I am connecting with them and I do trust them. Or you'll figure out, ooh, I don't know if you're actually capable of handling my project. I have doubts. And it's every single homeowner's right to figure out who's a good fit for them, because it is, I mean, the amount of communication that you guys need to have on any type of remodel is one of the first things I had figured out when I started the company. And I was like, wow, I just had no idea how many moving pieces there are to even the simplest task, like installing a door. You know, like there's so many, you have to measure it, you have to place the order, you have to make sure that the build sheet is correct before ordering it, like which way it swings, if it's coming in, where you want it hinged, and then, you know, making sure that's ready for the client. Then you pick it up, you unload it, you make sure the framing is all level. If you have to adjust anything, then you have to take off all the door trim, check the framing, and then you have to install the door. And then you put the door jamb in, the actual door, the door trim, the caulking, the painting. You know, everything has 20 to 25 steps involved. And if you guys aren't on the same page, and if the person managing it isn't capable of that, that's where you start to see all of those, like the little devil horns come out in all of us, because you're like, I guess you know, as a homeowner, if I switch my perspective, I'm like, I guess I wouldn't understand, why is it taking this long? Or why didn't you show up? Or why are you having troubles with this? Or I don't, just the simplest questions that can easily be communicated. So you just have to make sure you're a good fit. This is like a little bit like a dating app.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, I mean, I think so many people don't think about like the project management aspect of it. Like you just said, it's not just like putting in a door, right? It's 20 plus steps of putting in that door. And I know, because real estate's the same way, where like when people don't understand the process and you don't see a lot of the stuff behind, like you don't see the building spec sheet, and you don't see like the measurements going to the contractor, and you don't see the caulking and the trimming and all those separate pieces, like it's frustrating, right? Because you're like, I don't know what's happening and I don't understand what happened. And that's a scary, you know, place for people to be when they're spending money, and sometimes a lot of money, and they have no idea what it's really going to or what's happening. So, I mean, that's essential, right? Like that communication of like, they better not only keep in good contact with you, but when you have a question, they need to be responsive and nice about it, and, you know, helpful about it.
Yeah, that education component. It's like just so vital. Otherwise, like we had somebody, when we installed baseboards, they asked us, they were like, oh my gosh, there's like tiny little holes in all of our baseboards. What's going on? And we were like, oh, those are the nail holes, because baseboards just seem magically installed to most people, that people don't think about how they are installed on a wall. And we're like, oh, right, well, we have to putty those, and then you caulk it, you let that dry, and then you paint. But a lot of people don't think about those things.
Yeah.
So could you imagine walking in as a homeowner, and you're like, oh, something is happening.
Right. Like, what's wrong with this baseboard?
Yes. And like, what happened if your project manager did not explain to you like what was going on, or they didn't answer the phone?
Yeah.
and you're freaking out. So yeah, there's so many pieces, and it's just, if it's not well thought through and there isn't a process for it, you will see you will see it
Very quickly, most likely.
quickly. Yes. Fire, I mean fire, y'all, fire.
Yeah.
There's fire everywhere. Things will start falling through the roof. It will just be bad news is all I gotta say. And I mean, we've all heard it. We've all heard the stories,
Yes.
of what
Well,
can.
awesome. Thank you so much for all of that information. I think it's so helpful, and hopefully, this helps people just as they're, thinking about projects or anything like that. We'll make sure that everybody has, your contact information, and we'll provide some resources as well so that, they can make sure their project is done right. But thank you, Ashley, so much for joining us today. It was amazing information.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you guys just reach out if anybody has any questions. Even if I'm not doing the project, I like to be of service. If anybody has concerns about their projects or anything at all, that was my mission of why I got started. So let me know how I can help.
Awesome. I love it. Thanks, Ashley.